What's up guys, Snowta here, and have you been trying to climb out of silver, out of gold? Have you been looking for the champion that's going to take you to that next level in solo queue? Well, I'm here with another Ticket to Diamond video to explain Zed to you, one of the best champions to carry in solo queue. So in this video, we're going to look at his abilities, we're going to look at his build and his runes, we're going to look at kind of his strengths and weaknesses, and we're going to end the video looking over his top 3 ways to carry. You guys are not going to want to miss this one. This might be the best video you ever watch when it comes to climbing in solo queue. If you guys enjoy this content and want to see more videos that will actually help you get better at League, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Zed at the end of Season 10 is at the top of the S tier and likely one of the best mid lane champs in the current meta. This being said, he will not always be at the top of the meta because meta shifts happen all of the time, especially with Season 11 bringing some major changes. There is probably going to be a major shift with what champions are strong and which ones are not, but with all of this considered, Zed is an amazing champion regardless of what meta because of his ability to solo kill and carry solo queue games. This champion is so much fun to play when you get ahead because you can just one-shot everything in your path. So today, guys, your ticket to diamond is Zed. Zed's Q is a shuriken that he kind of throws out in a certain direction, and this is kind of your bread and butter damage ability. His Q pairs really well with his shadows, with his W and his ultimate, but we'll get into that in a second. Let's jump back quick and look at Zed's passive. Zed's passive is super simple. It's just an auto attack that does a lot of damage when your target is below 50% health. This allows you to CS super easily in lane and make sure you don't really miss any farm. And also when you're all-inning somebody with your ultimate, it allows you to get that little bit of extra damage so that you can proc the execute on your ultimate. But Zed's W is just a shadow that he shoots out. Recently, he got a buff to this speed of how fast his shadow shoots out. Zed's shadow dashes to the target location, remaining in place for 5 seconds, and he's also able to mimic his Q and his E, which are in range of each other. If you recast your W, Zed will swap locations with his shadow, and then his former location will turn into a shadow and mimic his E and Q abilities. Zed's E is just a spin that does physical damage. It's really simple. His shadows will mimic this. It just kind of spins and does physical damage. Also, if you hit a champion with Zed's E, it will reduce the cooldown on your W. It's kind of a nice quality of life thing. And the thing that Zed is most known for is his ultimate death mark. For a second, you become untargetable, which is great because it allows you to avoid skill shots, CC, or avoid damage if you're in a close 1v1. And you land right behind your target. And then for the next 3 seconds, all of the damage that you do is stored up on the target, and if you do enough damage, it will have a certain threshold that can execute your opponent. So the more damage you do will increase this threshold. Also, the lower of health they get will also allow you to, after you learn kind of how to play Zed with his combos and how much damage he does with what items, this kind of becomes second nature and you don't have to think about this too much. The math is kind of complicated, but don't worry, just do a lot of damage to people, and then when there's that spinny thing above their head, you can go back and they're going to die. Unless they get healed or shielded or something, it's almost a guaranteed kill. For Zed's runes, you primarily just want to go electrocute. It's the one rune that synergizes with his kit super well. I've also seen some high elo Zed mains go Conqueror in certain situations, usually against bruisers like Aurelia or Diana or Silas or something. But usually if you just want to be safe and have that one page that you always run on Zed, then you can run electrocute. And for his build, you're pretty much going full lethality. You can start with Duskblade and then go into Yomu's Ghostblade. Then usually I like to go Edge of Night third for that shield into GA, but if there's a lot of tanks on the other team, you can also build a Last Whisperer, or you build a bunch of other crazy items, but usually just build lethality. And also for boots, it's kind of up to you. If there's not a lot of CC on the other team, then you can go Lucidity boots to make sure you get that 40% CDR, or you can go Ninja Tabbies if they have a lot of armor, but this kind of just adds to his tankiness or his utility depending on the game, so make sure you kind of feel it out and know which one's best for that game. Okay, so Zed's first strength is that he's a solo kill monster. If you're against a Zed that's even semi-good, you have to play overly cautious in the laning phase because they could just ult you and all in you, and then the next thing you know, you're dead with Ignite ticking on your head. So this being said, if you want to learn how to play Zed, you have to know when you can all in, how you can poke with your Q, how you can poke with your shadow EQ combo, and just basic ways to get damage onto your opponent so you can threaten all ins. He's also great at diving because his shadows allow him to get into the tower and out of tower range very quickly. So look to pressure your opponent, and if you can, look for solo kills. And the second thing is, if you cannot look for solo kills, make sure you're roaming. This will allow you to pick up even more kills, which will get you more items, which will mean that you can solo kill more. So it's kind of just a big circle. So look to solo kill, pressure your lane, and if you can't find anything and your opponent is playing very safe, that should open windows for you to roam, and you can help your other lanes out and get more gold and get ahead. Zed's second strength is that he is great at skirmishing around scuttle crabs and dragons. You want to be able to put your wave in a position so that if your jungler is going for a scuttle crab, you can quickly go and help him, and if that means you have to 2v2 or 3v3, you totally should, because scuttle crabs are huge in the current meta and probably will be for a long time, ever since Riot implemented them and increased the amount of experience that they give. Scuttle crabs are huge for the jungle position, and they usually only get them if their mid laner, which is you, is going to respond and help them get it. So make sure you're looking at your jungler if they're going for a scuttle crab and leave it, because you're going to get ahead by getting some kills, and you're allowing your jungler to get the XP and gold from scuttle crabs, which is huge as well. Also, for early dragons, it's kind of what the whole meta is currently based around, so make sure you're leaving lane, you're going and helping your team at those dragon fights to stack up those dragons for that sweet soul stats. Zed's third strength is that he just scales really well with lethality. You don't have to build hard AD items. You don't need to build crit. You can just build Duskblade, Ghostblade, Edge of Night, these really awesome lethality items. He scales so well with them. And if you're into a team that has a lot of tanks, like I mentioned earlier, Last Whisper is just a great item for that as well. All right, for Zed's weaknesses, Zed just has a pretty weak levels 1 to 3. You're going to want to play safe in lane. You're not going to want to take a lot of harass damage. You can let the laner push into you if they're ranged. If they're melee, you could try to skirmish a little bit, but you will usually lose most fights until you are level 3. So make sure you just chill, hang back, get your farm with your Q, and don't start anything too crazy. Once you hit your levels 3 and 6, you can really start to poke and all in, but that's just something you'll learn after playing a couple of games. Zed's second weakness is that he's very susceptible to crowd control. If you go into a 5v5 fight and just dive the backline with a Leona or a Janna or something on top of them, you're probably just going to get CC'd, locked down, and die. So this means you just need to play slower, play patient. Make sure you wait out those big cooldowns so you can go in and get those kills easy. But it's a mistake I see a lot in low elo. Even if you're a fed Zed, if you are locked down even a little bit, your build does not allow you to get very tanky, so you can be blown up by the other team even if they're super far behind. So just play safe. Don't try to go 1v5. Play safe, wait out the cooldowns, and then go in. Okay, Zed's third weakness, I'm not even sure is a total weakness, unless you're in a game with certain champions, but I thought I would mention it just to give some clarity. Zed a long time ago would build Bork into Ghostblade, which meant that his attack speed was really high, which allowed him to take down towers and clear waves a lot quicker than he currently can, and it made him a better split pusher. So now Zed isn't as much of this. You should still go to a side lane after laning phase to get that experience and gold, and also to apply pressure on your opponent, and you can even look for solo kills and towers, but this isn't necessarily his strength, especially with the carry top laners like Fiora and Jax really coming back heavy in the current meta. You're not going to be able to outdo them unless you have an insane lead and they're super far behind. So make sure you're going in the side lane so that your bot lane can go to the mid lane to get that experience. But for the most part, you should be looking to flank and not just take a bunch of towers and backdoor. You can if it's just working that game, but primarily you should look to flank because that's just what's going to give you the most success in team fights. And in the current meta, team fights are just so important. Like if you can't just leave your team to fight 4v5. You need to join them if possible, because team fights mean dragons and barons, which are pretty much the strongest win conditions the game currently has. All right, now on to the part that many of you guys have been waiting for, which is my 3 tips to carry on Zed. If these are the only things that you take from the video, then amazing. These are the things that you should beat into your head so that every game you're playing well and you're looking to capitalize on these things so that you can give yourself the best chance of winning. The first tip to carry is to not get carried away in lane and just let the wave push. Look for early trades after you're level 3 to start chunking your opponent, and if they're really disrespecting you, then you can all in with Ignite, but really you want to chunk them down so that at level 6 you can get easy kills. So just let the wave push, hang easy, use your Q to last hit, and then at level 6 you can really start to get spicy. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, if they're playing safe, if they're playing back, then go ahead and roam to your other lanes. You can invade the enemy jungler, whatever works for you. Just make sure you're applying as much pressure as possible once you're strong. Don't just randomly push the wave early. You can get ganked very easily and you're not a great 1v1er that early into the game. My second tip to carry on Zed is to push and roam. If you can't get that solo kill, make sure you're pushing your wave all the way under towers that'll push back into you, and look to roam either to the top lane or the bot lane. I would normally suggest trying to go to the bot lane because that can usually translate into dragons. Plus, it's a higher chance of getting 2 kills instead of just 1 if you go top lane. It's just the reality of this game. People just kind of gang up on bot. So go down bot, get your double kill, and I wouldn't focus on trying to steal all of the kills. Like, allow your team to get some of these, spread out the gold, so that if you go into a fight and die 1v5, you're not losing all of the gold and the stats on your team, that your team can still have a fighting chance to win. It also just takes more pressure off of you by getting your team ahead. So don't just go to the side lanes and steal all of the kills. Let your laners get some as well. It'll just make for a better, cleaner game. I just mentioned this about his split pushing, but your primary focus for being in a side lane is first to get experience, second to get some gold, and third to look to flank into team fights. This is the best. Usually you want to split push on the side that is closest to the nearest objective. So if Dragon is coming up in 30 seconds to a minute, you're probably going to want to be on the bottom side of the map because you don't have teleport. And the same thing if Baron or Rift Herald is up and you're split pushing that early, you can go to the top side of the map so that you can be close to those fights that are likely to break out. This also allows you to push your top laner to the opposite side of the map, which will allow them to also apply pressure and then teleport in. It's just basic macro that can easily win you some games. And when you're looking to flank, make sure you go on the squishies that are the most fed. I know a support Vel'Koz that is 0-6 is super easy to kill, but you're kind of just wasting your ultimate at that point. So make sure you're looking for the opponents that are very strong, like a fed Caitlyn, a fed Orianna, whatever it might be. Focus your damage on them. You want to take out all of the items and the statistics and the gold and the experience that's on the enemy team to give your team the best chance of winning that team fight. Hey guys, I really hope this video was helpful and encouraging to y'all. Zed is so much fun to play in solo queue, and if you can master him and get his combos down and really understand the way to play him as a champion, he can be a lot of fun to play a lot of solo queue games with and get you really high and potentially even to diamond. So please guys, if you enjoyed the video, please smash the subscribe button. We're trying to grow the channel as much as we can, and I really appreciate all of the support. And as always, this has been Snowta. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.